You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the chiropractic profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, ChiroSushi, and Chiropractic Unity. Let's hustle.
All right, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever or whenever you're listening to this. This is episode 4 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your co-host, Luke Millette. Here's your host, Jim Chester.
Hey guys, Tristan Schaub is our guest today, and we hit some home runs with this man. He is not only one of the leaders that's a non-Chiro, but he is one of the co-founders of the ChiroSushiSummit. Here at Chiro Hustle, we like to talk to some of the influencers in the profession and to get some ideas about what they're doing and how they became who they are. And today we have Tristan Schaub as our guest. Tristan, tell us a little bit about who you are and how you became one of the co-founders of ChiroSushi.
Cool, man. Well, Jim, thanks for having me on, and I'm excited for this. I think this is going to be one of the best podcasts, not just in the chiropractic space, but the business space. So I'm very proud of you and Luke for all the things you guys have done and accomplished, and proud to call you guys friends. So me, I grew up in a chiropractic family. My grandfather and grandmother met in chiropractic college in New York City. Back when their professors were being pulled out of classes with handcuffs on. And my grandmother was one of the first female chiropractors in New York State. They were practicing chiropractic before they were licensed. And obviously they had my father, who became a pretty productive chiropractor and chiropractic consulting coach in the 80s, the Mercedes 80s, if you will. And so I grew up with my aunts, uncles, my father. I grew up in a chiropractic office, and I was working as a CA and as a front desk person since the time I was 14, and intermediately until I was probably about 21, 22. And then I kind of branched off and said there was a little bit of am I going to be a chiropractor? Am I going to go back to school? I decided I wanted to be a rock star. So I said, I'm going to do everything that is against the innate, and everything that I know to be right or innately know that is the wise way to go. I'm going to go the exact opposite and explore that route. And I did a really bang-up job of doing everything wrong. So, but in that journey, man, I started a few companies, and I moved to California. I started a company called Avaca with a co-founder, which was Avaca was a really cool program that was the first ever virtual online anger management and domestic violence intervention program. We had back before all this streaming video was kind of what we know it to be today. In the mid-2000s, we had one of the first online virtual classrooms with cameras in our classrooms that I taught, and I helped develop the program. We developed one of the very first court-approved anger management ELSs, like e-learning, if you will, that was developed. And we went from doing about $3,000 a month locally in San Francisco in the first 6 months of doing about $26,000 a month in 6 months by scaling out to becoming virtual. So that was a really cool journey. And a lot of it was related back to chiropractic, because we were teaching thought, mind, consciousness, which was you're authentically healthy instead of the kind of the bullshit stuff that people do with cognitive behavioral therapy, which is to basically tell you you're wrong and you need to manipulate yourself out. We went kind of the other way, which is you're naturally born healthy. You're innate. You need to trust your innate. It's all the other stuff that you put in your belief systems. And so we had a really great success there. We sold that program to the San Francisco city government, and they've just taken that over, and that was an exciting journey. And then I started a company with one of my mentors, John Kim, who you guys met at the ChiroSushiSummit. And we started a company called DoctorBase, which was automation marketing for doctors. We primarily were in like the dental market because they just caught onto it really quick in plastic surgeons, and that led me to actually opening up a med spa in Southern California and kind of taking the things that I learned by going to Parker seminars and growing up in a chiropractic practice and applying it to a med spa setting. And then I got a phone call one day from my dad who said, you know what, he couldn't stand what's going on with the students who are graduating and not being successful. And he said, I want to bring back some of the stuff that I grew up with and kind of evolve it, and would I want to help market it? And I said, I'd rather not just help market it, I'd rather help build it with you guys. And thus we started ChiroSushi. I feel like I'm rambling.
No, it's cool, man. It's a lot that you've done, and you've come from a really cool background. And I don't know, honestly, if many people know who Tristan Schaub is, so I think it's a very good lead-in for people to get to know you.
Thanks, man. Yeah, so it's been a journey with ChiroSushi. So we launched essentially last year, February 17th of 2016 was the year we launched, and so a little bit over a year and a half now. I remember the day they said we're doing this and we're going to do some things a little bit differently. We're going to focus on kind of the way people digest information now and consume information, which is through memes and through curated content. And so we had a high focus on unique user-generated content, which has been a principle of mine when it comes to marketing and building businesses.
So with everything you've done so far for the chiropractic community, would you say that everything makes you a chiropractic entrepreneur, or as we like to affectionately call them, chiropreneurs?
I think so, Luke. I think that I don't think, to answer the first thing, I don't think we've really accomplished anything yet. I think we've made a lot of noise. I think after the ChiroSushiSummit, there was hearing people come back to practice, and they've been extremely busy and productive, and they got a lot of insights. But the pessimist in me is like, we can do better. We can always do better. So
oh yeah,
I'll never ever
say
we accomplished stuff yet. But I do definitely think that the term chiropreneur has been, I mean, honestly, chiropractic and entrepreneurs have been linked together since the days of DD and BJ. I mean, those were two of the most phenomenal marketers, communicators, and essentially entrepreneurs. So, the very first big chiropractic seminar was put on by BJ Palmer, and one of the keynote speakers was Napoleon Hill, and this is before Napoleon Hill really became Napoleon Hill. So this tie-in of being a business person and being a health provider, thus now what we are as chiropreneurs, as you guys termed, I do feel that we fall into that scope, and I'm proud to say that. I think you need to own that you are an entrepreneur when you have this beautiful paradigm that we have with the chiropractic lifestyle and chiropractic, and you have the ability to make a crap load of money with just your two hands. I mean, you can make a lot of money with chiropractic. And that's one of our goals is to get people back there where, you should be making, a couple $100 an hour just with your bare hands.
Yeah, man. And something that you touched on earlier is about how quickly you can get stuff moving, bro. And I've noticed the impact that you've had in the chiropractic realm for a while now. I guess since I've connected with you probably over a year ago.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see how quickly the movement for ChiroSushi and the interest for what you guys are doing. Let's talk a little bit about where we're going with the ChiroSushiSummit and what happened this past year a little bit.
Yeah, dude. Well, I think that our goals are evolving. I'll kind of take it back to, the very kind of first conversations that Tim is my father. He's a chiropractor, and Dr. Dan Golden. And then we eventually brought in Ryan Bones to be kind of instead of being the Three Musketeers, I always said I think we need to be the Beatles. And we needed to have someone a little bit younger, kind of represent that portion. So we're kind of well represented across different areas. You know, we have a retired chiropractor in Dan Golden. We have someone who's still practicing who can reach the 50 to 65-year-old crowd. Then we have Ryan, and then we have me, who's not a chiropractor but can be looked at as someone who's been successful in business ventures. The original kind of concept of ChiroSushi, and I really think we made some mistakes at first, was, full disclosure, I grew up as a Parker kid. I went to Parker seminars as a child. I was in and out of Parker seminars throughout my adolescence and into my early 20s. When Jim Parker was essentially removed from his own entity that he built, which was his own doing, kind of, because he built this board of directors. He went into a nonprofit. He built the school to be a nonprofit. And anytime you get into that kind of BS, you're kind of going to shoot yourself in the foot, because there's so many like chiefs and nothing really gets accomplished. So what we found was that the old school Parker seminars, which were 5,000 to 8,000 people were going at one point, I mean, it was so off the hook. And similar to DE, Sid Williams was running seminars with 3,000 to 5,000 people coming. Ironically, or whatever word or metaphor would be used, the profession was doing really well. Now, a lot of people would say, well, it was the Mercedes 80s and people were able to manipulate the insurance, and there's some validity to that, but it's still 2017. People are able, if you're a smart business person, you're going to figure out, how do I make more money efficiently, right? So people still will manipulate the insurance schemes. We see what's going on in Florida. But what we found, and what we know to be true, is that when you have 3,000 to 5,000, a significant portion of your profession united and joining in learning together and developing from a personal and a professional side, that, guess what, the profession does a lot better. And we saw an opportunity that, where, Parker was kind of who we put the dartboard on, of saying, that's who we aspire to be, and that's the market we want to take, is the business chiropractic seminar. We're not a philosophy seminar. We're not a technique seminar. And I think that, Parker itself had grown into this monster that didn't really know who it was anymore. It's still, I think, in my opinion, trying to figure out, how do we compete with CalJam, and how do we offer up wellness stuff, and how do we still stay in the business realm, but we also have to do techniques. And so I said, we need to narrow the niche. Now, the problem going back there was, we kind of identified ourselves too much with Parker. We started using Jim Parker's imagery. In fact, I got, through the grapevine, I got told that Parker wasn't too happy about that. Now, the jerk in me, or the rebel, was like, 2 middle fingers in the air. And then they started using Jim Parker's image again at Parker, which I thought was phenomenal. And I truly think that we helped them have a great Parker experience this last year, through kind of osmosis and us promoting Jim Parker again. And I hope they can keep it up. Competition's good, and it's good for everyone, but I think that we really were trying to figure out, who are we going to be, and what we've really evolved into, and it kind of happened halfway during the promotion, was saying, we're going to be the Chiropractic Entrepreneur Seminar. We're going to focus exclusively on sales, marketing, and a little bit personal and professional development. And I think where we're going even in the future is, you're going to see the ChiroSushiSummit be probably about 50% successful chiropractors and CAs, and the other 50% being successful startup founders, CEOs, business owners, so that we kind of own that niche, and that you can get some of the best marketing insights from people outside the profession. Because when you look inside your profession, and Grant Cardone, Ty Lopez was talking about this. We were playing a video last night on ChiroSushi. Ty Lopez was talking about, I don't look at inside my own industry from its leaders. I look outside. I look at Hollywood. I look at real estate. And so I think that's really what we have to do, is one, look outside our profession. You still have to respect, and you can learn from the leaders inside the profession, but outside the profession is where you're going to get kind of those out-of-the-box ideas. And that's where we're going to go with ChiroSushiSummit, is really becoming the chiropractic entrepreneur This is where I go to get satiated for my marketing, my social media insights, how to grow my practice, and business development.
So you mentioned Tai Lopez, you mentioned Napoleon Hill. That kind of brings us to our next question. Do you have any mantras or quotes that you really live your life by and apply to every day?
Yeah, dude, good question. I say my mantra to myself is just keep going. And if anyone wants to hack into my passwords, it usually starts out with some sort of form of tenacity. So this was bred into me kind of in that Silicone Valley startup days. When we were building DoctorBase, man, it was literally like a game of chicken every night. It was like, who's going to be the first to leave? And there were times that I remember we were working on Christmas, and we didn't just work on Christmas for like a couple hours. We worked for like 12 hours. Cleaning up stuff and organizing schemes and talking about campaigns and following up with emails. So tenacity and just keep going are kind of like what I look for, because at the end of the day, like, you have to be creative and you have to have tactical ways to market yourself, brand yourself, and do things differently. But the biggest dose that you need is consistency, right? And so the biggest problem that I find in most business owners and most startups is that they're consistently inconsistent. They'll start something, they see the idea in their head that I can make money doing this, but when it comes to actually putting in the time, energy, and bandwidth, then they realize, oh crap, this is hard, and that's when they kind of check out, and that's where like 80 to 90% of people check out. Those 20 to 10% that make it to the next level are the ones that go, you know what? I got to get up and I got to do this content. I got to do this email blast. I got to put money on the table. I got to pick up the money on the table. So, I go back to my, if there's a mantra, and it kind of came to me just talking about this, is I believe that you should always run your business and your operation as if you're always a startup. As soon as you lose the I'm not a startup, whether it's a startup practice or startup business, you kind of lose that mojo and that gusto that I think propels you. And so, if I had to give advice to anyone, is just keep running your business and your life like you're a startup CEO.
Yeah, man. It just makes me think back to the first time I had a conversation with you walking out in my front yard in the Denver skies. And you're like, dude, you are probably one of the most consistent people out there. And that's, I think, one of the things that really brought us together.
Yeah, dude. I mean, look at what you can you guys hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I look at all the content you were putting out. Now, first of all, you guys created a documentary in chiropractic, which there's only been, that's like one of like 3 or 4 that's ever been done. And I actually, if you really look at it, it's the only one truly about chiropractic and not kind of like the medical allopathic model, which is like the other documentaries that have been put out there. So it was truly focused on like explaining what chiropractic is, and you guys did such a phenomenal job. And then, you had to promote that, and you had to keep going with building your identity and your brand for this. And I just was like so admired like the consistency and the hustle, because most people would give up. Most people would stop because they're not getting the response they want. Even if you look at lately with like what you've done with asking questions on Facebook and developing as a person that we go to see what's on Jim's mind today and what does he have. I know going back in time, you were asking questions and people weren't answering stuff. But you kept going. Other people would have said, okay, I tried this 4 times, and you know what? I didn't get anything from it. And Jim Chester and Luke are different. They're like, you know what? We know that this is what smart people are doing. We're going to keep doing it because we know we're going to get the results. And guess what? Now you're getting the results. You're getting phenomenal results.
Yeah, man. And I think the big thing is with what I'm doing is this podcast is actually something that is going to add more value to that. And people are going to start getting more content that we create. And it's not just making ourselves visible. It's going to be, what are they doing and what can I learn from them now?
Yeah, and same thing, you'll start this and you'll probably, you'll see every podcast, the downloads and the subscribes will go up and keep going up and keep going up. And you know what? You might have a little moments where it dips down or goes up, or it gets stagnate. But you will know that there's a bigger purpose and you have a mission and you have a vision and you're going to accomplish it. And so, the thing is, man, the Chester mama didn't raise no quitter, dude.
I appreciate you saying that, man. And it's really good to be in company of high-end, vision. And I think that a lot of times we limit ourselves to our four walls, and we really don't know how to reach out to people that are really contributors to the future. And honestly, most people are afraid of finding people because then they get called out on what they're doing or what they're not doing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's an interesting time too, dude, because of social media and what we can accomplish and the opportunities that's out there. And so, just keep going. Tenacity, man. Tenacity.
And that actually leads into our next question. What would you be able to accomplish as a chiropreneur if more people knew about your cause and what you were doing with, like, say, ChiroSushi? Like, what would happen if 3 times as many people showed up next year or even more?
I truly think that goes back to what I was saying about when 5,000, 8,000 people were going to Jim Parker seminars or Sid Williams seminars. And I want to stress on this too. I think it's really important, we love Danny Knowles at Mile High. We love Billy at Cal Jam. There's a couple other seminars that I think that the person owns it. And then you have other industries where they've kind of taken over the seminars. I think that they've lost something because, it's not their money anymore involved. It's either a school's money or it's some other entity that they're kind of sharing in, and there's, like I said, there's too many chiefs and everyone has to go in one direction or they want to fight for another direction. When Sid owned his stuff and Jim Parker owned their stuff, it was their voice coming through. And the cool thing about ChiroSushi is that we're a group, our voice is coming through. And we don't all agree on the exact, like, I get into philosophical arguments with Dr. Bones all the time, because I'm probably more of a mixer with a straight mind philosophy, but open to, hey, doing supplements, doing CBD, and he's like, I'm not really into that stuff, but if more people were coming, we could have more of these discussions. I think the cool thing about ChiroSushiSummit this year is people felt there was so much love, and that was one of our intents. We weren't promoting love. We weren't saying, come here and you'll, because I think that's kind of, it kind of comes across as like consumer Valentine's Day stuff. Like, how can you proclaim this is going to happen? But if your intent is for that to happen, it should happen. And all of us were unified in that we wanted this to be a safe place where there's no technique wars, where people could learn about different options. The one thing I'll say is that human beings deserve options. So if more people were coming, I truly believe that they would be more successful in their practice. It's a cliche, but it's what I've heard from people that have attended and that have been reading our content for over a year, that they'll be more productive and that they'll have a better quality of life. And that they build this the quality of life thing comes in with the connections that they've made. They've now met like-minded individuals that they can pick up the phone or text and communicate with. I mean, I'm hearing now from so many people that are like, I'm talking to this person that I met at ChiroSushi every week now, or this person texts me every Monday with, a quote or something. So there's been this really cool, it's going back to what our goal was. We wanted to create, a very organic, unified family. And the cool thing about it is that they all differentiate on their techniques and their philosophy of what is chiropractic, which I think is the beautiful thing about chiropractic, is that it's like love. Like, you can't really define it. It is what it is. It is what it is to you.
Yeah, man. And when you say all that stuff, it just brings up a lot of emotion for me because it really put me on more of a national stage to be able to interact with people too. And the way that people have reached out to me since the summit and the way that people have interacted with me since ChiroSushi. I mean, it pretty much took me from a guy that was like pushing for 50% of, you know, knowing people to maybe around 70% of knowing people. And now I get, you know, honestly, between 5 to 10 messages or emails a day just asking me about what my ideas are or how I might be able to help people.
Yeah, and they should be asking you that because you know a lot of freaking answers, man. You know?
Well, Luke has the next question for you too, so we're going to keep firing away with you.
All right.
So, Tristan, you personally, where do you see the chiropractic profession going in the next 5, 10, or even 20 years?
Wow. Okay, so I believe that the continued rise of cash practices and membership style practices is going to overtake the insurance. I think that you listen to people that have gotten out of the insurance paradigm, and this isn't just in chiropractic, this is in healthcare all over, right? Yeah, you know, internal physicians, OBGYNs, everyone's trying to figure out how do I get out of this BS of being controlled by how I control and guide my patients to health. And as soon as people get out, it's like the Matrix, right? Like they're like, they can breathe again. And everyone says that this is the craziest thing to me. Why it's not just going to be, maybe there'll be like that real big tipping point, like where it's like 2019 November 3rd or something like that. Or that sounds like an election day or something. But there's going to be that one day where it's like 30% more of chiropractors were like, I just dropped out of insurance this year. I said, screw it. Because if they listen to their colleagues that have done it, they're like, I'm happier. I'm happier. I'm making more money. I'm liking being a chiropractor again. And I think the problem that we're seeing is that chiros either get burned out, which they shouldn't be getting burned out doing chiropractic because it's one of the greatest things to do in the world, but they're getting burned out by doing all these extra notes and having to fight the insurance companies and being told what they're worth instead of defining their value. You know, when I was a kid, I would ask my dad, who had a partner, they shared space, you know, he charged $40 per adjustment and his colleague charged $20 per adjustment. And I said, well, why does he charge 20 and you charge 40? And his simple answer was, well, that's what he feels he's worth. And to me, that, you know, this goes back to chiropreneur and capitalism. And you know what? If you can define what you're worth. If Donnie Epstein is charging a couple $100 per visit, and you know some really great people out there are charging 60 or 70, but someone says, you know what, I want to own a different market and I want to charge 25 per visit. That's the beautiful thing, you can do that. So I think the cash practices, membership style practices, less insurance, I think that's going to be the future. I believe, I hate to say it, but I think eventually, I think drugs will be in our profession if we're talking 10, 20 years from now. I think the overwhelmingness of the schools that are not chiropractic are shaping the generations that are to come, and unfortunately, I think that's going to be something that we're going to have to deal with. And there's some really great minds that have argued just, you know, behind the scenes, and they don't argue this on Facebook. It's not like we need to keep drugs out, because, you know, the one thing at ChiroSushi I know that we all stand for is we don't want drugs in this profession for a variety of reasons. And I'll say number one for me is that, you know, if you look at our friends across the aisle in the allopathic models, they're not happy with what's become of prescribing drugs. And anybody that wants to get involved with that doesn't understand the nightmare that's attached to it when it comes to paperwork, litigation stuff. It opens up Pandora's box. Number two, obviously, the other answer is it's not freaking chiropractic. But I hate to say it, but I do believe that because of the schools, because of the money involved with that, I believe that we will be in a paradigm that we're not going to be proud of. At the same time, I think what will happen is there'll be an uprising of the more philosophically sound and straight chiropractors to have more ownership about what it is that differentiates them from those types of chiropractors that are medipractors. I think that other than that, I think that, you know, the utilization rate will go up. I hope third thing I hope for in 5, 10, 20 years is that we have more affordable, i.e. free or sliding scale clinics comparable to the medical model, because I think that's one of the missing links that we're not really good at. We're really good at focusing how to get the 45-year-old mother of two from Colorado with a minivan, with the $100,000 a year husband. But I really would like to see us, and then we focus on third world countries with mission trips. But I don't see us serving kind of the lower demographics, or we're not talking about it in our own backyard. So hopefully that will be something that we have more accessibility to chiropractic for people that can't afford it on a regular, consistent basis. And I think the other thing is we'll see that more chiropractors are going to turn into, and my grandfather would hate for me to say this because he used to tell patients when they would complain about their own problems in their head, he would say, "Lady, I'm not a psychiatrist. Get off the table. I'll see you next week." But I think that more chiropractors are going to be involved with working with the mind and mental subluxations, if you will, because and this comes back to kind of like where I'm like, maybe I'm a mixer or whatever, but in the 60s, my grandfather went back to school to get his master's in clinical nutrition because what he found was that his adjustments weren't holding the same. And I've talked with many chiropractors that have been practicing for 30, 40 years, and the chiropractic miracle stories are happening less and less. Why is that? Well, one reason is that we're becoming way more toxic with the cell phones, technology, our earth being, here's the hippie in me, our earth being destroyed, our food supply being destroyed. We're so freaking toxic. The other thing is the mental stuff that's going on, and I think that's going to be kind of something that you see more one-on-one working with the mind subluxation. So I hope that was a good answer. Dude,
I think that is all-encompassing for that question that we could ever hope from it. Just the gray matter that we've spent with each other and the time that we spent with our black box conversations about what we want to do and what we think that the chiropractic profession would benefit from. I think that you touched on quite a few of those topics. And, I think with what we can do as a unified front is we can really establish a quality care system that shoulders out drugs from the profession. And I think that, with the constructive front that really doesn't think that that's necessary inside, then I do think that we can still hold on to our integrity for the next 5, 10, 20 years without allowing that in. And I do think that one of the things that's really going to be able to help with that energy and that unified front is finding a model that is more affordable for everybody to be under care. Because once that happens, I don't care what the schools say, because the people are going to speak and the people are going to come for the services that they feel healthy through, and that ain't through drugs, brother.
Yeah, well, and this comes down back to why you should be a chiropreneur, right? So, and this is where, I want to make it really clear. We don't, again, at ChiroSushi, we don't want drugs in this profession. But we're seeing the writing on the wall. Why? Because of where the schools are going. But this is why, if you make more money, you can put it into the schools that you trust, like Sherman, right? Or Life West. Schools that are philosophically sound, right? But we have so many people in this, I don't care. The people that are like, I'm out, like, I just can't do this, there's going to be a percentage of that. The practices that I care about are the ones that are like, I'm seeing 15 people a day and I can afford, to survive. I'm surviving, but, I can afford to take my trips. But you know what they're not doing? They're not part of the President's Circle at Life West. They're not putting $100 a month into the schools. If we were putting more money into the schools that are right, so that they could put that into their marketing budget, so they could attract and define what chiropractic is to future students, we won't have to worry so much about this possibility of drugs getting into the profession, because we'll have smarter, more well-informed students and obviously future graduates. But you have to make money to put money into the systems. And so this is why we have to be chiropreneurs. We have to be entrepreneurs first. Or as John Kim said, which I think is 100% correct, is you have to be a media company first and then a chiropractor.
Yeah, man. I feel like a lot of times I push people out of their comfort zone, and I engage them and kind of, talk to people as a kind of like an angry dad in a way, because I want people to take more action. And I'm tired of them like swimming around with their thoughts in their own head saying, oh, I'm great and what we're doing is great. But you know what? Without action behind ideas, it's fucking worthless.
Put your money where your mouth is. Put your money where your mouth is. It's not, start making more money so you can infiltrate it into the systems that you believe in, and that will solve it. If we put, I thought about this. If we put a couple $100, $160 a month for every chiropractor into a marketing slush fund, and we could have a Super Bowl ad, like this would change paradigms, man. But we're letting the people that do have money put it into the wrong places, and we're not fighting back. And you got to fight back with money, so you got to make more money. So, I think we could stop it. I'm really scared to say that I think that it's definitely possible, because in the 60s, 1/3 of the profession wanted to be able to prescribe drugs. I think now it's over 50%. So, we're trend, and it's growing fast. The trend is just, it's accelerating.
Do you know why? Because they're weak and they're failing.
That, and I think that there's also the fact that they've been taught a different form of chiropractic from their school, and so they're just not. This is why I say when I went to the Berkshire Philosophy event, man, when we were there and we were up late and I'm talking to people in the IFCO, I'm like, you need to reach out to people in the ACA, invite them to be here. And they go, we don't want them there. And I said, why not? We don't want them in here. I go, well, then how are they going to get philosophy? How, if you invite 10 people and 8 of them just sit back and laugh at us, fine. But 2 of them switch over and say, you know what? Because we saw it happen at ChiroSushi, man. I saw people that have been practicing a different way come back and tell me afterwards, man, I get it now. I get it, So unless we're reaching across the aisle, essentially, which it's the lame term to say, but it's the truth. They are weak and they're failing, but we're not reaching out and helping them. We're shutting them, and we're not opening up the dialogue of discussion. Well, you are and we are, but the majority aren't, right?
Yeah, man, and that takes us into the next question that Luke's going to pose to you, and it has to do with something about our reach.
What are your primary marketing techniques? Like, what works best for you? Do you use traditional marketing anymore, or is it all digital now?
Yeah, it's for us. It's all digital because we're a digital platform. We have a software that we're releasing in the next month or two called Katana, which is going to be marketing automation software. We've done some print advertising with the American Chiropractor and things like that, but I think all of our budget for the future is going to be all digital. The thing I couldn't live without, Luke, man, is just content creation, and specifically, blog articles and memes. So, like, those two are like, that's my left hand and my right hook and my left uppercut or whatever. What's that Gary Vee thing? Jab, 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 left, whatever. It's 3 things: being consistent with content, unique user-generated content, so that's content that we create, that we own, and obviously email and digital. So we focus primarily on social media, and I think that the evolution of where we're going to go to is even more micro-sized content, and instead of doing 20-minute or 12-minute videos, maybe we do a bunch of different 30-second minute to win it kind of stuff. So video is obviously a big deal, but I think at the end of the day, you still need to have content that's text, because the digital platforms still are in this sphere of links, right? And links get you from one point to another, and you need clicks, and you need clicks on the links, and you need to have landing pages set up to capture emails and information. So video is great for branding and keeping exposure, but I still at the end of the day say I couldn't live without a really great dynamic article.
So what's your favorite app or technology to keep you engaged with your audience?
Well, Facebook. I mean, if we're talking technology, it'd be Facebook. I mean, I feel like if we lost our Facebook, we would be pretty silent for a while until we figured something else out. Instagram obviously is growing. I still think that Facebook is the primary dedication where you need to be. LinkedIn is a great reference point for some stuff. But those are Facebook would be number one. That's our heartbeat, dude.
Yeah, man, I was gonna follow up with that. I was gonna be like, well, what if Facebook pulled the rug from underneath us and they just disappeared? What would we do?
I had a moment earlier this year. So I don't know how some of the other. I haven't reached out to anyone and asked them, but we were running some stuff with supplements on our site. We're partners with ChiroSushi, and Facebook basically just turned off our ads and said. And I got a hold. Everyone always complains it's hard to get a hold of someone on Facebook. Actually, you have to go through Messenger now, and you can actually get support right away on Messenger, which is really cool. And they just told me, look, you need to clean up your site. You can't have any of the words supplement. They do have this weird Gestapo kind of thing now going on, where you got to kind of toe the line with them. But I literally remember texting Ryan and going. We were like a month or two out from ChiroSushi, like prime time for selling tickets, and I had, $300 worth of ads running nonstop, and they were just shut off. And I just remember just going, I want to go into a hole, and I want to just never wake up. I was freaking out, dude.
Yeah, man. I also feel that same type of pressure when it comes to having this as such a powerful resource. That's why I tell anybody that does set up any type of Facebook ads that they should be pushing people to get off of Facebook and get onto their own email list. So then you have control if Facebook does decide to switch gears on people and start charging for posting a day. I mean, just imagine if they started charging for every post that you made. Would people keep posting like they do?
Well, the smart ones would, because you would have to the investment and that would actually weed out a lot of stuff. But who knows what the content would be? But I want to go back to what you're saying. That's the number one thing you should be doing is owning your list. And you know what? I'm not afraid to say this, man. We built DoctorBase with purchased email lists, man. And I always, you Google, should I use a purchased email list? And everyone will tell you don't use them. I truly think sometimes some of the stuff that you see out there is people tell you not to do it because it will make you successful. So don't be afraid to buy an email list.
Yeah, dude. Just like when I was on the social media panel and I was like, yeah, just go and friend 50 people a day until Facebook tells you can't friend people anymore.
Right.
Is that attractive? No. But does it work? Yes.
Yes.
And why do I have a badass audience now? Because I broke down that dogma of don't do it this way because it doesn't make you successful and people won't like it. I disagree.
It's the things that are unscalable and the things that disrupt and the things that most people will tell you not to do that are going to make you successful.
Yeah, and some people won't do that because they only want to put their foot in the water for a short amount of time, so it doesn't really work and doesn't serve them. But if one of the things I could tell anybody is if you're going to be an outside marketer and you're not going to be a chiropractor and you're going to work in the chiropractic profession, the best thing I could tell anybody out there that's listening to this podcast is stay the course. Do not come in and try to make a few bucks and then cut tail and run because your Facebook ads campaign doesn't work anymore. You got to bring more value from different angles in order to help the future of chiropractic. And you can't just come in here trying to get high on the hog and thinking that your life is going to be a dream after you start taking money out of chiropractors' pockets for being ineffective. And then, you know what? It doesn't work, so I'm going to run away. Well, that strategy is going to catch up fast to the people out there that look at chiropractic as their target market to run Facebook ads with and to try to make a few bucks off of.
Yeah, dude, those guys piss me off too. But the thing is like 98% of them don't have any talent. They just like, I can put a credit card into Facebook and I can press boost post, and they're like, well, look at the leads that came in. And I'm like, none of them are talking about copywriting, which is like the most essential part of any type of ad. Like, none of them are being the John Hamm or the Mad Men where they're talking about this is, look at the copy that we created. We did this A/B testing with this copy versus that copy. That's what a real marketer does. These aren't marketers; they're leeches, man. And they're just like, you don't know what you're doing. Just let us take care of it. I saw this ad the other day, man, for Facebook software. They're trying to promote software and ad software, and all it really was that you send in questions about who you want to target, and for $20 a month plus your ad spend, of course, they'll automatically set up your ads. And I'm going, well, that's not freaking software. Don't now everyone's going to start trying to get on the software bandwagon when they don't even really have software. It's crazy, dude.
Yeah, man. So I'm going to fire into the next question, and I know Luke has another one leading up after this one, but what are some of your resources? Where do you learn from? I mean, you didn't just one day wake up as Tristan Schaub. I know chiropractic and I know chiropractic marketing. What do you do to read and stay up on the trends of what's happening? I know you're doing a lot of live interviews and meeting a lot of people in the profession, so obviously that's a given, but what's your resources?
In the chiropractic world, I like to follow the people that are, the leaders that I consider to be the leaders and the innovators, like Liam Schubel, Dr. Danny Knowles, pretty much anyone who's associated with ChiroSushi. You like attracts like, right? But I think it's, more importantly, what I do is outside the profession. And I'll tell you, this is the one thing I do is, there's people that are well established. We had Grant Cardone at ChiroSushiSummit, which is awesome. But I go to startup, like I use AngelList, which is a site that you can go and look at new startups. You can actually sort by date, and you can actually sort by who just got funded. So I look at where these startups who just got money, and because that tells me that they typically have a CEO who can pitch and who can sell a vision and sell a dream. And then I start following those CEOs. And because they're going to be the ones 5-10 years from now that are going to be the new, Travis Knick's, like the Uber CEO. They're going to be the disruptors of the future. So I kind of go like, it's kind of like a hipster way of like, oh, well, you don't know about these people yet, this is my new band, right? So I follow. That's how I kind of satiate my need. I also stay up to date with new technology that's coming out through a variety of different channels, primarily Product Hunt. And so when I see what new technology is being created, that's also telling me where, what the future is going to be holding.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing all that with us.
Yeah, dude.
Now, we're starting to get towards the end of our program, but before anything else happens, I want to give you a few minutes to just give a nice, big, fat, juicy plug for ChiroSushi. Tell everyone what it is, how they can join, why they need to be there. Just
dude.
Let everyone know.
There's two things with ChiroSushi. We have our online platform, which is ChiroSushi.com, and then all our social channels. So the brand ChiroSushi, which is typically free. You guys should be following that because you're going to get awesome content, unique user-generated content that we create and you can use for your practice or use for growth or use just for, reading while you're on the toilet. And the ChiroSushiSummit, I believe, is truly an event that you will help make you more money. It'll help save you money, help make your life and practice life easier, and ultimately help you to serve more people if that's one of your goals, and it should be. And so that one, we're going to actually have our seminar next year is going to be in June. It's June 21st to June 23rd. We have some really exciting concepts that we're going to be evolving from the previous one. Thursday is going to be Personal Development Day. Friday is going to be sales, and Saturday is going to be marketing. We have some really big names that we're going to be announcing soon. And then I'll just give a quick what's coming up for ChiroSushi. We're also going to be rolling out our Katana software, which is an all-in-one practice management EHR, but most importantly, marketing automation software brought to you by the team behind DoctorBase, ChiroSushi, of course, but also technology people like behind Match.com. So we have some really big names involved with creating this software, and that's something that we're really excited about.
Very cool. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't get a chance to ask you about?
No, I mean, I think this podcast is going to be phenomenal between you guys, the creators of Chiropractic, the documentary, and I'm excited about the next documentary coming up. But I think that this podcast is going to be phenomenal. I'm really excited and proud for you guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to the future with the ChiroSushi family. I think that there's some really cool things that I'm curating in the pipeline for your guys' platform as well. And I just couldn't be more happy to be accepted into, that thing that you touched on early on, man, that whole essence of love. And I know it wasn't something that was like a sticking point for the summit, but I think that that's what everybody walked away with. So I say we just keep on doing what we're best at and keep on pushing this message forward and trying to help and establish the chiropractic profession the best we can. And I think the ChiroSushi Summit is definitely on the front lines of joining arms with the profession and really getting people to get out of their own way so that we can serve bigger.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head, my man. I love you guys.
Love you too, man. So if that sounds like that's about everything, so I think we're going to be wrapping this up.
All right, guys. Well, good job, and thank you. And let me know how I can help with this, and we'll be promoting the crap out of this because this is going to be a great not just my interview, but I'm talking about. I know you had Dr. Knowles on, and Tim McFadden, who's got an awesome software that he's dropping our platform. So you guys are on the right track, man. Keep it up.
Thanks, brother.
And you enjoy the rest of your day.
Talk to you guys soon. Peace, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.